For most of my political life, I was a registered Democrat. And because of a lot of things that was going on with the Democratic Party that I'm kind of scared to mention because all of the censorship, I decided to switch parties, register as a Republican. And I was one of those people that really liked what Trump was doing at the time. And I really thought if Trump got a second term, America would be better off. Not to mention, the options that the Democrats were offering were never good. You just kind of had to choose the lesser of two evils, right? The first time around, the Trump administration, in my opinion, it wasn't so bad. The second time around, a part of me kind of wonder if Kamala Harris would have been a better choice. Just a little bit. I'm not sold on the idea, but I feel it just a little bit because I thought at the very least a second Trump term would make it easier for everyday Americans to have a better life. But seeing how things are going now, I'm starting to realize that that's not the case.
It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that.
Now, I'm not one for pessimism. I'm the type of person that is always trying to look on the bright side of things. However, one of the appeals of Trump is that he was a self made billionaire. And a lot of people can argue about that. But, he was a masculine figure in a very rainbow time, if you will. He knew what his pronouns were. We didn't have to worry about misgendering. We didn't have to wonder what a woman was. And that was really refreshing compared to what the Biden administration was doing at the time. And now we're looking at a new problem with the Trump administration to where we're realizing that, we just basically got tricked. Nothing about the Trump presidency represents America. We all understand now that Trump's presidency works to benefit our greatest ally. Now, part of me try to be okay with that because I get that this man has his own interests. He's very self-driven, very self-motivated, very self-centered. I expect all politicians to be this way, but not to this degree. I never thought in a million years that Trump would sell our country. But yet here we are. I try not to think this way, but after Thomas Massie lost in Kentucky, and that wasn't fair and square, made me really think about who's really in charge here.
All right. Listen, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrine in Tel Aviv.
I try to avoid diving into like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I try not to feel like somebody else is pulling strings or something like that. But it's undeniable that lately it's been in our faces that there's a donor class. It used to be we the people, but now the people are starting to realize that if you are not a part of the donor class, it really doesn't matter what you think. You can have as many opinions as you want. You can be as passionate as you want to be. But at the end of the day, there are people who tend to manipulate how our government is running. When I used to be a Democrat, I used to always think, as long as I vote, whether I win or lose, all that matters is that I casted my vote. And it never really bothered me because I have to say, as a Democrat, the systems that help people who are generally Democratic didn't really affect me. Like, I believe in charity, and I believe that, regardless of people's circumstances, they need a leg up. We should help people in America. But when I saw now the Democratic Party wasn't really focusing on the people, obviously, it was focusing on like identity politics. The obvious thing to do would be to switch. Because even though I realized that Republicans didn't generally align with my politics, it's better than being bullied into learning somebody's pronouns or some crazy stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I need something that makes sense. I need to vote for people that are aligned with my personal issues because I feel like the Democratic Party has completely jumped ship on that. Now I get over to the Republican Party, and immediately I'm realizing this whole myth that Republicans are for rich people. Democrats didn't lie about that. If you don't have money in the Republican Party, you can't buy an election. You can't buy a politician. So the best you could do is vote. And when you do vote, you would better vote for the people that the Republican Party wants you to vote for. Now the Democrats kind of was forcing our hands since the 2016 presidential election, if you ask me. The way that they just stuck Hillary Clinton ahead of Bernie Sanders, that made me a little salty. And then they just kind of kept rolling Joe Biden out there, which is practically elder abuse. And they just kept acting like, oh, everything's fine. But it's like, whoa, now I'm starting to see the evil of the Republican Party. There's no reason why Thomas Massie should not have won in Kentucky. No reason at all. But if you ask the donor class, the people who peddle millions and millions of dollars behind a candidate that aligns with their interests, not the interests of the American people, Thomas Massie got to go.
I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls.
We didn't lose this race because we didn't have enough money. You know, it is the most expensive race ever. I think when they add it up, right now they can count 35 million. I think when they add it up, it's going to be a lot more than that, because on our side, we know we spent more than 15 million. And we were able to go toe to toe. There was never a week that we got outspent more than 2-1 in this entire race.
Because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
You know, one thing that I do appreciate about the Democratic Party is that if you are not on par with their brand of politics, they tend to kick you right out. But for the Republican Party, I did not want to believe that, yeah, what they say on the Democrat side is true. If you don't have any money, you don't matter on this side. And that's okay. I'm okay with that, because now I think that those of us who are done with MAGA and done with the E-Files class, we're going to start making some decisions. And now we're even getting to the point where Democrats are starting to weigh in. And even though they don't agree with Republicans, they're not even doing this as if it's an opportunity to take a jab at Trump. Like, even Bernie Sanders agree with me. There is no way Thomas Massie should have lost the way he did in Kentucky.
Here is the political reality of today, a reality that we just saw yesterday in the election in Kentucky, when Congressman Thomas Massie, somebody who I have very little in common with politically, was defeated by $9 million in contributions from AIPAC and $7 million from Trump mega donors. And what was the great crime that Massie committed that gendered so much super PAC money in opposition to him? Well, he opposed the war in Iran, and so do the vast majority of the American people. He demanded that the Epstein files be open, which is what the American people have wanted, and he refused. What a crime, what an outrage, to be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump.
You know, sometimes I feel uneasy from leaving the Democratic Party, but then when I look back at it, it's still a hot mess over there. And then over here with the Republican Party, it's all split up. But I'm glad that Thomas Massie also understands what the everyday Republican is going through. Because although I haven't been like super duper right leaning, it is time to get creative on the Republican side. And I believe there's the old Republican and the new Republican. As far as I'm concerned, this whole bipolar party affiliation in the United States, maybe it's time we get rid of that. Because Democrats ain't making a cut, and Republicans are bought out.
I'm not even sure that I'm bipartisan. Bi means you like both. I might be transpartisan because I can't identify with either some days.